for Life is calling for the resignation or firing of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Not only did his NIAID office at the NIH approve grant money that ultimately made its way to the Wuhan lab for reported gain-of-function research on bat-based coronaviruses, but it also helped to fund some of the most gruesome human-animal hybrid experiments taking place at the University of Pittsburgh. Students for Life will be holding a Fire Fauci event in Bethesda, Maryland this coming Thursday on June 10th, which you can attend virtually on Facebook or on Instagram if you cannot make it in person. They've been sounding alarms about this issue alongside David Daleiden, Center for Medical Progress, which released this explainer about the government-sponsored fetal experimentation.
The University of Pittsburgh is a hub for some of the most barbaric experiments carried out on late-term aborted human infants. Experiments funded by the United States government. At the same time, the university sponsors the local Planned Parenthood abortion business in what looks like an illegal quid pro quo for fetal body parts. This photo from an experiment published by Pitt scientists in 2020 shows the scalps of 5-month-old aborted babies grafted onto the backs of lab rats, growing the aborted baby's hair on the rodents. The Pittsburgh scientists describe these aborted baby scalps as full-thickness human fetal skin, cut from the heads and backs of the babies, then processed via removal of excess fat underneath the baby's skin before stitching it onto the rats. How was this paid for? With a nearly $500,000 research grant from Dr. Anthony Fauci's NIAID office at the NIH. It gets worse. This photo is from a protocol developed by another Pitt scientist for harvesting the freshest, most pristine livers from 5-month-old aborted babies in order to isolate massive numbers of stem cells for experimental transplantation into adults. You can see the premature baby, aborted alive via labor induction, under surgical drapes with the umbilical cord off to one side as the baby is cut open to harvest the liver. The Pitt scientist who invented this experiment received nearly $3 million from the NIH. Third, the GoodMap project is a multi-year $1.4 million grant to the University of Pittsburgh from the NIH. The grant makes Pitt a distribution hub for aborted fetal kidneys and other fetal body parts for NIH-funded projects across the country. Those are just a few of the recent fetal experimentation projects at Pitt. It's been going on for decades, sometimes on babies delivered alive during later abortions. This is archival footage from the experiments filmed in the 1950s by Pitt's Dr. Davenport Hooker, who obtained live fetuses from abortions at Pitt's hospital and tested their reflexes until they died. A Pitt nurse testified in 1972 before the Pennsylvania legislature that she saw live fetuses from abortions being packed in ice and shipped off for experimentation at the university.
Joining me now to discuss is Lauren Enriquez, the Deputy Media Strategist at Students for Life. Thanks for being here tonight, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
So the president of your organization, Kristen Hawkins, is accusing Dr. Fauci of playing Dr. Frankenstein by funding these sorts of experiments. Do you think that's an accurate description of what was going on?
It is. I mean, you saw it yourself in the video just now. Dr. Fauci's office of the NIAID within HHS at a federal level has been funding this research. This includes scalping 5-month-old babies and grafting those scalps onto the backs of lab rats. I mean, this sounds like something that comes from a poorly written horror movie. It doesn't sound like something that American taxpayers should be funding. So I think Frankenstein is one of the kinder monikers that we could give to Dr. Fauci at this juncture.